Coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hey yo, what's up everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to 5 Things with me right here on FantraxHQ. And I'm going to remind everybody, take your league from ESPN, from Yahoo, wherever you're playing fantasy football, and move it to Fantrax. And when you do, you get a free upgrade to the premium commissioner product. I don't know why my voice went up so high like that, but it did, which means only good things. So, create your league at Fantrax, send me the URL at Fantrax, at JoePisapia17 on Twitter, and we'll upgrade you fantasy better over at Fantrax. So, here we go. You ready for it? 5 things for the New Orleans Saints. Number 1, Drew Brees. Yes, he's very old, but he's still got enough left in the tank. The question is, how much does he have left in the tank on the road? Last year, 21 of his 32 touchdowns came where? At home. In fact, the average yards per game for Drew Brees at home, 321. The average on the road? Not so great. 217. In fact, I would say kind of bad. So here's my thing. With Drew Brees this year, if you're in a single quarterback league, I think there's other options there. Yeah, you get the highs of those great games where he's outstanding at home, but then you got some lows on the road too. That's not great. So if you're going to end up with Drew Brees, my advice to you is very simple. My advice to you is this. Towards the end of the draft, go get a Kirk Cousins, a Jameis Winston, somebody else that you can play in those home games where the matchups are a little and maximize that quarterback position, because some of those weeks it's going to hurt you. You're going to be behind with Drew Brees on the road. I'm telling you, it's just facts. I'm not making this up. All right, the second thing that I want to talk about is Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is so good. He catches everything. He's unbelievable. I love him. He's going to get paid. Don't worry about it. He's going to get paid. Now, the question is, how good of a keeper asset is he? Because how much longer can Drew Brees play? I think still pretty good. I think they have a plan for when Brees retires. And look, if they have Kamara and if they have Thomas, how good do you have to be to make those guys good? I mean, that's a lot of talent in one squad. So I know he went through a drought of 7 games last year without a touchdown, which kind of brings us back to point number 1 about Drew Brees and how bad he is on the road. So just keep that in mind. Michael Thomas could see a little drought. You never know. A couple road games in a row. It's a little frustrating, but he's still a wide receiver 1. Still a guy you should be taking end of the first, beginning of the second round, without a doubt. A guy you want to build your franchise around. So let's talk about number 3 here, and that's Alvin Kamara. Now, some people like Alvin Kamara as the number 1 overall running back. I don't. I think he's clearly 4th, and the reason is last year his yards per carry went down a little bit, where his touches went up. So, yeah, I think you can make the argument that Kamara's one of these guys that you stay healthy with Kamara. He's a little bit smaller. Maybe you have him touch the football less. Sometimes he's actually more efficient. Some guys are like that, as opposed to a Derrick Henry, who the more he touches the football, the better he becomes. Now, I'm not trying to argue that Kamara's not a 1. Of course he is. He's a top 5 pick absolutely in every format across the board. But just understand, if you're going to reach for him over Ezekiel Elliott, either over Saquon Barkley or over CMC, I think it's a little tricky there. I really do. I think those 3 guys are definitively a little bit better than him, and we haven't seen him have that workload, and Latavius Murray's there. Now, here's the thing about Latavius Murray, since we're on Alvin Kamara, keep in mind, Latavius Murray, if something should happen to Kamara, Latavius Murray would be a guy that is a really good handcuff, because he can be a lead back. Yeah, he's not an elite back, but he can be a lead back, and that's the difference. A lot of these handcuff guys, they're not worth your time and energy. Why? Because they can't handle the workload, and they're not very talented. Latavius Murray, still pretty good at football last time I checked. So he's one of these guys. He'll lead to probably not quite as much as Ingram did the last couple of years, but I would think he's probably going to get 75 to 80% of the workload that Ingram had the last couple of years. That still makes him pretty good in deep leagues, so keep an eye on Latavius Murray in the run game. Number 4, tight end is tough, man. It's tough, but Jared Cook very quietly had a good year last year. That's right. 896 yards for 6 touchdowns. That's pretty damn good for a tight end. I will take that. And yes, I understand it's Jared Cook, and I understand there's negativity because when he played for the Packers, he didn't seem to do much. Well, why? Because they didn't really use the tight end in that offense. But Drew Brees has. Oh, yes, he has. Now, he's not Jimmy Graham, Jared Cook, but in a year where tight end is bad, I was going to say a worse word, but I didn't. I held on to my tongue. When tight end is bad, Jared Cook might be a savior. He might be a guy that could probably match 800 plus yards again, and probably is in line for even more touchdowns, because in terms of red zone options, I think Jared Cook might be one of the better ones that they have outside of the other 2 guys. So forget Traquan and all the other guys. Jared Cook is the 3rd option in the offense. You heard it here first. And last but not least, number 5, when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, is that defense. Now, that defense, I know it's got some big names, some nice IDP names, and you're absolutely right. But as a collective, they struggle against the pass, and I do not think they did enough in the offseason to address that in the secondary. I'm sorry. They made a few changes, not enough. So what does that mean? In DFS or streaming matchups, whenever you see a really good passing team come into town to play the New Orleans Saints or vice versa to play the New Orleans Saints, be afraid. Be very afraid because they can be beat in the passing game. All right, that'll do it for me, Joe Pisapia. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at Joe Pisapia17 and check out the Fantasy Football Black Book 2019, #1 in fantasy sports and in your hearts on Amazon. Go get your copy today. All right, that'll do it for me. Enjoy all the content at FantraxHQ. We'll see you next time, kids. Peace.